If I could have your attention, we'll get started here in just a few seconds. Find a seat. Thank you very much. Well, we're excited to have you here. This is really been an outstanding, awesome convention, and the State of the Association is really an important component of that, where our CEO and President, Jim Carr, is able to give a report on what we've done and help implement the guidelines for the future. So with no further ado, Jim Carr.
Well, thanks a lot, and good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? You would think in my position I would have a little more control over the schedule for convention, and I need to talk with Amy, I guess, about this for next year, but I found myself on the first day of convention following Kent Paulson and his story about what's happened over the last 6 months, and then now I'm following Daniel Rodriguez on the agenda. So for those of you who don't think I'm very smart, this just kind of confirms it that I'm not. I want to, speaking of Amy, since I've given her a little bit of a hard time, over the last few years at this presentation, I haven't recognized the staff because I really wanted this to be about the association and about you guys as our members, but this staff has really gone above and beyond the call of duty, not only in the last year, but particularly here in Charlotte at convention. So if you'll allow me, I would like for our staff to stand, and if you'll join me in giving them a round of applause, I'd really appreciate it. It's so good to have these people on my team, and I can't say that we get it right 100% of the time, but what I can tell you is these people care passionately about the NAIA, and they care about you guys as our members, and so I know their heart's always in the right place, and they're always doing the best that they possibly can. I also was reminded yesterday at our awards banquet of really why I've been at the NAIA for 17 years. You know, every time I go to one of those awards banquets, I continue to be impressed. We've had a great convention thus far, and people are engaged. Our ADs are coming on strong, even a little feisty at times, which I think is great, and I love to see that. But yesterday we heard from a lot of different constituents, and each and every time somebody goes to the microphone, and yesterday with our award winners, I learned something each and every time. And so it was great to hear from Coach Smelly talk about how when he goes to the national championship, he goes to see his friends, and I don't think that happens in a lot of other places. We had Rob Miller, who always does a great job in front of a crowd, but to continue to challenge us to get better. And then Rob Huizinga, I loved his analogy or his kind of apology to his dad that instead of growing vegetables, he's growing student athletes and watching them grow and blossom. And then, of course, Barry Brandt, as only he can do, giving us wise counsel to make sure we handle sport with care. And I think that was a great way. Unfortunately, Barry's retiring on us, so we won't always have his counsel close at hand, but a great reminder from Barry in his last convention, or maybe it won't be your last, Barry. Hopefully, you'll come back with us. But then we also heard from our student athletes, and that's always my favorite part. And now we have some student athletes who will be joining us in our structure. But at one of the opening sessions, or one of the general sessions, I heard Matt Sayer talk about his student athletes, and happened to be his national championship football team, how they approach things with gratitude instead of entitlement. And as we heard all 5 of our Student Athlete Award winners go to the microphone yesterday, it was very, very consistent. Essentially, all they did was thank other people for their success. And they certainly did a lot on their own to get where they are and to get those awards, but just consistently thanked everybody from their parents to people at the member institutions, thanked the NAIA, even though I don't think we did a whole lot for them, but it was nice of them to thank everybody and hear that gratitude expressed, because I think our 65,000 student athletes certainly are not entitled and appreciate everything that we do for them. And all of those things, to me, make the NAIA a really special place. I think it is an association like no other. And part of that is because we do serve 65,000 student athletes. And we insist that they focus on their character, and that that's really important as they pursue a degree while they play the sport that they love. It's also special because we have dedicated coaches who choose to be in this profession because they want to make a difference in the lives of young people. And it's also special because of all of you in this room. You care deeply about your institution, but you also care deeply about the NAIA. but I think more importantly, you care about each other. And I wanted to open my remarks by telling a story that's already familiar to many of you and already alluded to it just a minute ago. Last November, we received word that our good friend and commissioner of the Frontier Conference, Kent Paulson, had been in a terrible car accident. And what happened after that really, to me, is what the NAIA is all about. The entire Frontier Conference family jumped into action. They figured out how to cover Kent's duties at the fall championships, but they also raised money so that Kent could concentrate on his recovery and help defray some of the costs that insurance didn't cover. At the same time, Kent's fellow commissioners were rallying the troops to support Kent and his family. They also raised significant dollars to help with Kent's expenses. And to me, this story is important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, and I think Kent's in the back, we're so thankful that Kent's still here on this planet with us. So if you will, join me in giving Kent and his lovely wife, Joan, a round of applause. Well, and Kent, I've been talking about you, but we know Joan's the real superstar of the couple. But Joan, thank you for everything that you've done for us as well. That story is important also because it's really emblematic of who we are as an association. We all come together in times of need. We want to help each other, not because it'll advance our careers, but because we know it's the right thing to do. It's simply part of our character, part of our makeup. And so what I want to talk about today is how we can all work together to keep this special thing going, the special thing we have in the NAIA, how we can all be partners in progress, how we can shape a future together that will highlight the special characteristics that are the NAIA way. The time of need for the NAIA might not be quite as urgent or quite as apparent as what Kent faced just a few short months ago, but let's make no mistake about it. We are at a crossroads. We're at a pivotal point in time, both for intercollegiate athletics and for higher education. The climate around us, as all of you know, is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And most believe that these two industries, again, athletics and intercollegiate athletics and higher ed, will look very different in a decade, maybe even 5 years from now. And so I propose we can take two very different approaches. We can view the change as threatening and simply wait it out with the status quo, or we can see the vast opportunities that are in front of us and forge a path forward together. I propose that the long-term success will depend on more than simply protecting the special niche that we have. If we see only the threats, we'll protect the status quo and at best stay where we are, or at worst, we'll shrink. If we think about the many opportunities, on the other hand, the possibilities are endless. And there's a need out there. Small institutions are being challenged today. We need more students, and we all know that athletics can be a very real tool to attract students to your campus. I also submit that success is only possible if we're all in this together. Partners are those who undertake something with shared risk, but also shared rewards. So we must look for opportunities to grow together, to make sure that all NAIA members are receiving value and that your campuses are growing and that athletics is helping you reach your goals. And it's important to remind ourselves of the positive role that NAIA athletics is already playing. We've seen tremendous growth, especially in the areas of student-athlete participation and enrollment on campuses. And this is at a time when it's a challenge to grow enrollment on small college and university campuses. Total enrollment in the NAIA has gone up 24% in the last 5 years. If you compare that to schools in D2 and D3, they're both in single digits. Average enrollment per institution is also up. It was 1,473 5 years ago, and now around 1,800 is the average enrollment on NAIA campuses. That's a 22% increase over that same time frame. Student-athlete participation has gone from 48,000 to now 65,000 in the past 5 years. That's up 31%. D2 and D3 are at 16 and 11% respectively. And then finally, the average number of student-athletes on your campuses is up 30%. to 257 on average. So some of you may be asking, why are these stats important? They're important to me and important to the NAIA because they are important to you. They're critical to the long-term viability of every NAIA campus. Traditionally, many people have thought of the NAIA as running championships, certifying eligibility, and here in recent years, making sure that character is really a part of everything we do, making sure it's a bedrock of everything that we do. And their underlying philosophy has and continues to be one that errs on the side of institutional autonomy as opposed to a rule for every single possibility. And for some of you, probably cream cheese on a bagel may come to mind. I believe that most intercollegiate athletics believes that our way is the right way, that our approach is better than what you might find at the NCAA. But unfortunately, we've experienced the loss of some members in recent years. For some schools, a belief in the philosophy or a belief in the NAIA way simply couldn't carry the day anymore. Some boards of trustees and or presidents believed that the NCAA brand or reimbursement for championships were tangible benefits that justified leaving. And despite our best efforts to get these same people to understand the real cost of participating in the NCAA and that return on investment is minimal at best, people have still made that decision. I had dinner recently with a member of the Board of Trustees of an institution that recently made that decision, moved from NAIA to Division II. He's a new board member, so he's asking a lot of questions, and he really had a simple question for me. Why is my institution in NCAA Division II? His conclusion early on, after being on the board for about a year, was we're spending twice as much money, we're not as competitive as we used to be, and our discount rate has gone way up because we're having to spend more in scholarship dollars to get the kinds of athletes we think we have to get to compete in Division II. So I said to him, these are exactly the same points I've made with your president in recent years or in past years before the decision was made. And so I found myself with some really mixed emotions. First, I felt a little bit of vindication, basically saying this is what I told him would happen. But as the conversation continued, frustration really started to take over. I was frustrated that we could not convince them that the NAIA was the right place for them. I was frustrated because we could not get them to see the value of the NAIA and what we have to offer. And in the end, I was frustrated because they weren't begging us to take them back despite all those facts. And to me, this story is a great illustration of both the threats and the opportunities that are in front of us. And it's with this context in mind that the Council of Presidents pursued and then last April approved a growth strategy for the organization. It's my pleasure to introduce to you John Reinders. John is the president of Morningside College and the chair of the Council of Presidents. I've asked John to join me on stage to give his perspective, to give the perspective of the Council of Presidents on the current state of our association and our efforts to provide value and growth. So please join me in welcoming John.
Jim, thanks. And I'm really pleased to be part of the State of the Association message today. And I hope to bring a COP perspective to Jim's comments, but also to remind that each of us is incredibly important in articulating the positives of being an NAIA member and assist in the growth of this great organization. As you may know, the COP is our governing body, consisting of one president per conference and a handful of at-large positions. Each of these members has an equal vote. The COP also includes some ex officio members representing the ADA, NAC, SIDA, CFAR, NCC, and the CCA. National office staff members participate, but they do not have a vote on the Council of Presidents. So what's the role of the COP? Well, really, it's pretty straightforward. Our role is to provide leadership and oversight of the NAIA and the national office. Our direct report is CEO Jim Carr, and he in turn directs the staff of the office. As a Council of Presidents, we believe in the NAIA, and we want to see it grow so other institutions can share in the benefits of being a member. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, and I know it all too well firsthand, I share Jim's frustration that we are losing quality members, and I share his belief that we are the right home for institutions that look like mine, Morningside College, and look like yours. The leadership of the COP has been thinking actively for several years now about the right approach to move the NAIA forward. While there are still many options available to us, and there is still dialogue and exploration that needs to occur, the COP, and it was ratified again this morning, the COP is unified in its belief that we must look for opportunities to grow and retool, all in an effort to answer the question raised by that board member that Jim referred to a few moments ago. From our perspective, we must have the right value proposition to combat the draw of the NCAA. We also concluded that being NCAA light is not the answer. We're in the same business as the NCAA, but we have to come at it differently, offer things to members and student athletes that the NCAA either can't or won't do. As a result, the COP asked the national office to develop ways to grow with a specific emphasis on more members, more revenue, and more quality athletes, student athletes, getting to our member campuses. The COP has also asked the national office that as they developed these ideas, to make sure that all the initiatives centered around a deeper and stronger connection with our student athletes remains the primary focus. We must stay focused on our character-driven athletic programs. So I think it's important at this convention to talk candidly about where we are in this effort. There are some incredibly positive things that happen, and like any major change movement, we also find doses of angst and disagreement about the direction we should take. I've asked Jim today to talk about how he views our growth movement and how he sees that path forward. Jim?
John, I appreciate those comments, and I also want to take a quick second to thank John for his leadership. John's uniquely positioned at this point in time to lead the NAIA. For those of you who don't know, John was a former NCAA Division III basketball coach and was also a president of an NCAA Division II institution. And fortunately for all of us and for Morningside College, John brought the college back to the NAIA from NCAA Division II. A little later in the presentation, you'll hear from John the specific reasons why the NAIA was the right fit for Morningside and how the NAIA played a pivotal role in helping John and his team at Morningside rebuild the college. As you heard from President Reinders, the national office was asked to create a strategy with specific initiatives to lead the NAIA forward. And let's be clear again, this was not a survival plan. The COP believes that we must grow, that we must innovate and retool the association. There's consensus that we should retain the qualities of the NAIA that I mentioned in my opening and focus more intentionally on developing our greatest resource, our 65,000 student athletes. But again, there's recognition that improvements in or protection of these areas alone is not a recipe for success. So in April of last year, April of 2014, the COP put into place a plan for focused growth, and John mentioned the three areas for focus, and they make a lot of sense. First, we want to grow in ways that help our members, and the primary area here is bringing quality student athletes onto your campuses. Second, as a membership organization, we need more quality members. And finally, to accomplish the first two, we have to find new resources. No matter how well-intentioned we are, no matter how far we can stretch the resources we currently have, both at the national office and throughout the organization, if we want to remain relevant in intercollegiate athletics, we have to find new resources. As most of you are aware, the first major initiative brought forward by the staff was called Path to Play. Path to Play was a web-based portal created exclusively for NAIA schools where students and parents could get the full picture about NAIA athletics and institutions, about NAIA athletics and institutions, and where coaches and admissions officers could find students who fit your athletic and campus profiles. From May through November of last year, we had extensive discussions with presidents, ADs, coaches, and even admissions personnel. And I think the good news is most people agreed in general with the concept. The bad news was we couldn't build the support to take the project forward. And with specific pushback on the investment that we needed from each of your campuses, each of our member institutions, and also whether schools really needed our assistance in attracting student athletes. So as a result, the Path to Play initiative ended with a decision by the COP to reconsider the plan. But they also said we still need to continue with growth, and therefore formed what we're calling a growth advisory panel to guide us going forward. This panel consists of presidents, ADs, and commissioners, and we'll begin meeting at the end of convention, and we'll continue to inform the Council of Presidents as we move forward, starting with their meeting in September. I want to thank the members of this panel for their willingness to serve on this important committee, and I look forward to working with all of them to move the association forward. Our charge to the panel is to help guide the COP and other leaders of the association as we continue on this journey together. The first step will be an evaluation of Path to Play with a focus on what we learned. There were many questions raised during Path to Play, all good questions, all legitimate questions from our members, including questions about the priorities of the growth strategy. I'm still a firm believer that the current niche of the NAIA is a place where institutions can utilize athletics to stop or reverse declining enrollment, increase enrollment to meet financial and mission-driven goals of the institution, and again, attract quality students onto your campus. When I talk with presidents and trustees, both within the NAIA and outside of the NAIA, they're very interested in these things. And we want to be a part of the NAIA if we can really demonstrate an ability to move the needle in this area. We learned during our presentations about Path to Play that some out there don't necessarily share this vision, that NAIA institutions need assistance from us on this front to help recruit students. So we need to understand that position better because, again, we're here to provide you value. I know it's not realistic to get unanimous consent for this or any other specific point in the plan, but I do think this is the right time to continue our discussions around the principles and priorities that we've set. And then once we have general agreement, we have to get about the business of moving forward. Again, we need as many people as possible rowing in the same direction. We need you all to be partners in progress. So as we build consensus and discuss together the growth strategy, we're fortunate to already have some progress upon which to build. There was one aspect of Path to Play, and we've talked about it a little bit earlier in convention, that was well received and garnered almost unanimous approval to move forward and great reviews in 2014. I'm speaking of the NAIA Sports Showcase. Under the leadership of Austin Bennett, we're moving forward with the help of your coaches who are helping us figure out what they want to see during these events. These events are self-sustaining, assist our members in finding quality student athletes, and build a lot of awareness for members in the NAIA. The first three-day event was a success. We had 330 prospective student athletes from 14 states, 400 parents, and I'm not sure exactly what that says, that we had more parents there than student athletes, but I think you guys deal with that on a daily basis, and 71 coaches from 53 schools. After that successful pilot, we're going to expand the program, and again, Austin talked about this in some detail at one of the general sessions. So we'll add to the roster of sports by, again, having men's and women's soccer, baseball, softball, and football, but then adding men's and women's basketball and men's and women's lacrosse. We also learned that we're much better off at having these events in larger metro areas so that more student athletes can easily get there. So we're having 7 of the 9 in Kansas City and men's and women's lacrosse in St. Louis. And those will be held in June and July of 2015. These showcase events accomplish so much when young people who want to continue their passion to play in college are put in direct contact with NAIA coaches, and NAIA coaches can see all of these kids, young people, in one setting. Plus, they offer the added benefit of marketing the NAIA and your institution to literally hundreds of thousands of potential student athletes and their parents and coaches. Because we see it as a core responsibility of the NAIA to help create awareness for your institution and for the association, as well as help connect you with potential clients, your prospective student athletes. Our marketing and communications efforts have helped in this area over the past year. Our showcases are a great example. We helped connect you with 200,000 prospective student athletes and about 7,000 high school coaches and athletic directors. And that was just a small pilot program that we hope to expand for years to come. Another outreach initiative that's underway is our NAIA network, and hopefully most, if not all of you, are familiar with that. This video portal allows fans to view our national championships both live and through archived events. The NAIA network can also funnel visitors to our partners with Stretch Internet, or to schools who are also partnering with Stretch Internet, which is about 130 of you at this point in time. The viewership on the new network is off to a great start. During our recent championships, we had as many as 20,000 daily views. The future of the NAIA network is it's become all things for video related to our school's athletic programs. We're also reaching out directly to high school athletic departments and counselors with a new site called collegesportsinfo.org. It's dedicated to information and tools to help schools conduct college nights and go out and tell their high school community about all the opportunities that are available in the NAIA. So they now have videos to use and information about the NAIA, our eligibility standards, and the Eligibility Center. We've just begun this initiative, but we've already contacted 27,000 high schools, and they're starting to use the information in those types of events. As you know, international students are now a significant and growing piece of the puzzle for many of our member institutions. With no small part of an institution's strategy driven by international student participation in intercollegiate athletics. The great majority of our institutions engage third-party credential evaluation services to help them to work their way through the academic records of this segment of our population. At the same time, the Eligibility Center is reviewing those same transcripts, those same academic records for athletic purposes. Over the last 4 years, our international eligibility team has acquired a tremendous amount of expertise in this area and has developed a very strong partnership with ACRO, that many of you know, to serve these athletes, but also to serve you. In the last couple of years, your registrars have been asking our staff if we could extend our work from the athletic arena regarding international students and include evaluation for admissions purposes. So essentially, your schools would have a one-stop shop for international credential evaluation. And that they would be able to, so that your schools will be able to do the same thing for athletics and for admissions basically at the same time. This process is cleaner for your institution, much simpler and easier to understand for all the students involved. And I'm happy to say that here at Convention we've rolled that out. Hopefully a lot of you have gotten by the NCRED booth to learn more about it. We'll continue to work with our partner ACRO and work with your registrars in the coming weeks and months to make this service available to all international recruits. Again, it fits within our plan because it provides tangible benefits to your institutions, brings more recognition to the NAIA, and at the same time creates some revenue to support our work in other areas. Another initiative that's moving forward is Arbiter, another one we've talked about here at Convention. This new program helps integrate officials more effectively into our association. NAIA officials get better training and understand the expectations of the NAIA related to conduct of student athletes. It's been a missing part of our interaction with the athletic community for a long time, and so it's great to have that now as part of our process. I think one of the most important things is it now creates advocates in the form of officials as they go out and officiate our games, but also go out into the NCAA world and officiate games. And while there was some pushback at first about the cost, I firmly believe the perception of the NAIA has been raised, and at times the new view is directly related to the fact that we're requiring people to pay to be a part of us. Research certainly supports the notion that people value something more highly when there's a cost attached to it. Another thing I want to say about Arbiter is it's a great example of being a shared vision with our constituents. I want to thank our conference commissioners for their willingness to consider Arbiter and other new initiatives we've presented to them over the last few years. For the commissioners out there, I know you took some heat on this particular initiative. So again, I greatly appreciate the selfless approach that moved forward the initiative that is good for the NAIA. And as I think about the support of the CCA, I'm incredibly excited about another movement that's clearly underway and taking place right here at the convention. With presidents as our governing board and our efforts to focus on conferences, the role of the athletic director in the NAIA really has come into question over the last several years. Well, let me tell you, our ADs, they're not going to stand for this. Rightfully so, a group of incredible leaders in our association came to me with two important questions. The first was, what is the role of the AD? And the second, and I think more important question was, what should it be? Over the last 12 months, not only have we had some great discussions related to these two questions, but we've also seen much action. As Kevin Steele and Jim Abbott and their colleagues were raising the questions, they also went to work. They formed the ADA Board of Directors that we've never had before, and we're already seeing fruits of this engaged group right here at convention. The attendance of ADs at convention is up. The renewed emphasis on professional development has been incredible to see. The professional development here this week has been not even close to anything we've had in the past, so we thank them for that. And we're getting a wonderful engagement of veteran ADs who are wanting to mentor and take on the responsibility of bringing new ADs into the association. The people doing the work and leading the programs are all on board, and I want to thank the ADs for that. They want the NAIA to succeed, and they want to be partners in progress. More importantly, they're showing their commitment by action and already are becoming a part of the movement. I know there are many out there to thank on that front, but I do want to thank a small group of ADs who met with me in Kansas, with Justin Glenn and me in Kansas City last summer. Kevin Steele, Jim Abbott, Jeff Bain, Angie Fincannon, Bruce Parker, Matt Sayer, and Darren Wilson. Bob Wilson was supposed to be there with us but couldn't, so that group really started the movement that now is clearly underway. These individuals and their hard work and determination were really the catalysts that were needed to get this movement going. So I look forward to continuing on this journey with all the ADs. I do want to say a quick word about Kevin Steele. I think most of you know that Kevin had heart surgery 10 days or so ago, but his presence has been felt here at convention. Even though he's recovering, he's been sending me emails and texts, and I know many of you out there as well. So please keep Kevin in your thoughts and prayers as we continue to move throughout the convention and beyond. Of course, we're also excited another movement is underway. We've talked a lot about our student athletes, and we still have our 3 representatives who are going to be part of the Council for Student Athletes here with us. As we discussed yesterday in our student athlete development session, we really have a chance to be part of something significant in the NAIA and intercollegiate athletics. You're being asked to approve the Council for Student Athletes and the Association of Student Athletes tomorrow during the business meeting. This new council will allow our young people, our student athletes, to have a voice in our association and a significant place within our governance structure. My hope for this group is that they become our ears, become our eyes and voice for all the decisions that we make. And that we look back 10 years from now and say, wow, I had no idea what these young people could do. I had no idea these amazing young people would transform this organization by challenging us, by allowing us to see intercollegiate athletics through their eyes. And I hope we have the courage to listen to what they have to say, but also to act on what they suggest. So I ask you all to vote in favor tomorrow of the legislation to bring all this to fruition. Just as reaching out to our student athletes is very important, so is our renewed effort on membership recruitment and retention. The conversation I referenced in my opening with that Board of Trustees member is becoming more and more frequent. It's becoming more frequent due to our proactive efforts we are making on the membership front. As we continue to look for ways to grow and provide more value to our members, we're committed to this proactive approach to membership recruitment and retention. As Kevin D. spoke about in our Partners for Progress session yesterday, we began working last fall with our commissioners and presidents representing conferences and ADs in targeting potential new members in NCAA Division II and Division III, as well as other institutions we think are a good fit for the NAIA. I think all of you know this is a long process. We're not going to go out and just ask a school to join and they're going to come in tomorrow. But we're starting to see the fruits of our labor. We're seeing much more interest and having more substantive conversations with D2 and D3 members than has ever happened in my 17 years at the NAIA. As D2 continues to get more expensive without, in my opinion, really any real tangible return on that investment, D2 members will be and are becoming interested in what the NAIA has to offer. D3, or those in D3 also are recognizing that the NAIA can provide real advantages in recruiting quality student athletes through our structure and our recruiting-friendly rules. On the retention side, few schools are entering the NCAA pipeline. A big thank you goes out to all of you for helping us anchor early before a president or a board at an institution starts down the path to consider a move to the NCAA. One person who's clearly at the head of that parade, again, is John Reinders. I had the pleasure of hearing John tell a room full of presidents, mostly D2 and D3 presidents, why Morningside College moved from D2 to NAIA. And in John's own words, how the NAIA saved Morningside College. I've asked John to provide some of his thoughts to you on this front today. So welcome back to the stage, John.
Well, I sure agree with Jim. There's been significant movement towards growth and improving the NAIA. I agree with Jim that a key component to our growth is finding more quality members and selling them on the benefit of an NAIA membership. I want to share with you a little bit what I did with the D2 and 3 presidents at our CIC meeting earlier. But this is a story that I'll bet all of you know of institutions or perhaps yourselves, a story that's all too familiar. I know that each campus is different, but I hope the story that I'm going to share with you, and a story from the heart to be sure, gives you some opportunity to talk to other prospective members. There are lots of schools like Morningside out there, and the NAIA and our respective conferences across the country offer those institutions wonderful paths to success. I encourage all of you to create your own version of what I'm going to say. Certainly, we all know the staff of the NAIA can never do this alone. We're going to have to be partners in this. When I arrived at Morningside in 1999, we were and had been for quite some time NCAA Division II and a member of the North Central Conference. Along with Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, we were the only private college. We were in a mix of schools like the University of South Dakota State, Northern Colorado, North Dakota State, North Dakota. You get the point. We had just under 800 students competing against schools almost 10 times larger than us and with 100 times our resources. Our results proved it. Other than in men's basketball, we were horrible. We had 6 wins in 10 years of football. I love this story. I hope you can appreciate this. I'm an old basketball coach. Athletics have been a dear part of my life, my whole life. And in my first year of the presidency, the commissioner of the North Central Conference met with me to encourage Morningside College to stay Division II in the conference. And his argument that he used with me, he said, "John, this is the best Division II football conference in America. And Lord knows you provide a second bye week for all of our teams." You can imagine what a compelling case he made for me. Anyway, I thank and credit the NAIA for saving Morningside College. In 1999, we had 12 sports and 220 athletes. Today, under a great leadership of Tim Jager, our athletic director, we have 26 sports and 600 student athletes. That has played an incredibly large part in almost doubling the size of Morningside College. But equally as important, and I mean this, equally as important, is the change in campus culture. Quite frankly, in almost everything we did at Morningside, we expected to lose. And that defeatist persona just permeated our campus. It was palpable. Our kids wouldn't wear the maroon shirts that said Morningside 15 years ago. I hated that image. We're winning now. The last time I looked, we were 6th in the Director's Cup. The entire culture of Morningside College has changed. Now, we expect to win in everything we do. We talk all the time about creating a culture of excellence throughout our campus, I like to say that we have created that culture of excellence in everything we do, whether it's in the classroom, the music department, or on our athletic program. Accountability, support, and passion now seem to be what permeates our campus. I love it. The culture change is palpable on our campus. It has transformed the school. And as I think about it, there are some very special things about the NAIA that quite frankly, when I was making the move and we were requesting membership in the NAIA, I didn't appreciate anywhere near what I do today. First, the NAIA is an organization that truly puts student athletes first. We care about their well-being. And most everything we do in this organization, we consider what's best for our kids. Champions of character matters. It's not just words. Second, the NAIA enables us to strategically use intercollegiate athletics to enhance enrollment. We can use financial aid to grow. JV teams matter in the NAIA. And I call out to my presidents, if these JV teams do matter, and we are using athletics to shape enrollment, we have an ethical responsibility to fund and support the JV programs, not just offer them to give students a place to be. And finally, the leadership of the NAIA truly cares about us. When you think about it, all of us, Jim Carr and this staff, cares about each one of us and our institutions. We are their primary focus. Imagine sitting as a D2 or D3 president, AD, or commissioner of one of those conferences, or faculty rep, and imagine how you'd feel slighted today in the context of the NCAA's obsession with Division I. I know from my firsthand experience in D2 and D3 that the leadership of the NCAA did not care anywhere near my respective schools as Jim and the gang do. So that's the Morningside story. I hope it's familiar, a story like that familiar to you. And if you can share that kind of story with prospective schools out there, they too can reap the benefits of the NAIA.
Thank you, sir. Perfect. Well, what a great perspective from John. As I mentioned previously, I heard John tell this story firsthand to his presidential colleagues at the CIC meetings in January, and I can't tell you how proud I was sitting in that room and listening to John tell that story. And it shouldn't be a surprise to any of you why I think I have the greatest boss in the world now that I could possibly have. He understands athletics, he's passionate, and we have a lot of great members of the COP, but John, again, is the perfect leader at the perfect time for the NAIA. I asked him to tell that story here because, first of all, as you saw, he can tell it much more eloquently and with much more passion, much more energy than I could even hope to muster. But second, as he said, his story is your story. I can talk about the values and the benefits, the reasons the NAIA is a good deal. And believe me, I do that. We all do that. Our entire staff does that. From Lynn Meredith and his marketing communications team, to Chad Waller and our veteran sports information staff, to Kevin D and our membership team, Chesney Allen and our campus and conference liaisons. We're all working towards the same end, driving home these critically important points. But John's story, Morningside's compelling narrative, a story that defines focus and sustained commitment, real leadership and growth. That's the real story. And again, that's your story. It's a lived experience that brings the message to life, and it's much more powerful when it's told by you. High caliber athletics at a reasonable cost, tied in inextricably to your mission, steeped in the context of character and student experience. This is our promise, and it's one we will deliver together. So how do we move forward together? How do we become real partners in progress? I suggest we take a page from the playbook of our coaches. What are some of the things that our coaches tell student athletes on a daily basis? First, they stress, keep working hard on the fundamentals. At the national office, we have to keep our eyes on great championships, legislative services, sports information, communications, the eligibility center, all the things that you count on. And we need to understand what you want in these areas, and we need to deliver. Second, we need to keep getting better, as Rob Miller told us yesterday. The wants and needs of our student athletes and your institutions are changing right before our eyes. So while we keep working on our fundamentals, we must adjust to our new environment. We must adjust to the competition. The opportunities in front of us, the people we serve are right in front of us, and you're all willing to share your thoughts. And so it's up to us, all of us together, to meet those changing needs. We're on the right path with the creation of the Council for Student Athletes and the Association of Student Athletes. These young people are going to tell us what they want. And again, if we'll really listen, if we ask the right questions, if we're willing to change and even take some risk, we will find the right path forward. And then finally, I go back to a page from Bruce Brown's playbook. He used to tell me that he only had one rule for his teams, and that was be a good teammate. And so for me, we all have to be better teammates. I need to be a better teammate, as do all of you. This is your organization. The direction of the NAIA is your call. And staff is here to execute based on guidance we get from you. At the same time, though, you all have day jobs, so it's up to the staff to be catalyst at certain points in time and bring things to you that can lead the organization. I believe one of our primary challenges at this point in time is to articulate better our various roles and have more discussions on this topic, and I think that's certainly started right here at this convention. Our recent growth agenda is bringing out these conversations, bringing them to the surface, and I do believe we'll be a better organization for it. There's no doubt the road so far has been a little bumpy, but that should be expected. Change is hard. And our organization has many moving parts and well-established traditions and certain ways of doing business. But I really like what I'm seeing and the ways in which all of you are responding. Our CEOs are leading towards growth and committed to building consensus. A re-energized core of athletics directors are now an integral part of the conversations going forward. Conference commissioners are engaged with a fundamental interest in growth and key roles to play in recruitment and retention. Faculty athletic representatives and registrars are leading the way in terms of students' academic performance and the overall integrity of our association's mission. Coaches and our Champions of Character faculty and campus leaders are putting the foundations in place for leadership and character in the years ahead. And now with our student athletes, now that they're soon to be with us and soon to be a part of our structure, we have all the pieces in place. The first few steps towards change and growth have taken place, and those are the hardest. Our best days are ahead of us, and I look forward to working with each of you as we continue on this journey together. Thank you.